So if you were a conservative, if you were a Republican right now, and you weren't a Trump guy, what would you do? Because I find they're in a real bind right now. Because if you're a mainstream establishment Republican, I don't think you can go into that convention and say we're going to steal this thing away because we don't like it. It would expose such a horrible flaw in the system and really be undemocratic. And at the same time, they're giving up their party.
But I think they've already exposed that. I mean, I don't believe the Republican Party is against government at all. Government is how, in my lifetime, they've redistributed wealth to the top 2%. They don't dislike government, they dislike democracy. And we've seen it time and time again. Look at these ridiculous voter ID laws that as soon as the Supreme Court removed the pre-clearance regulations in 2013, these voter ID laws go up all over the place because they want as low a turnout as possible. We know they don't care about the will of the people based on Bush v. Gore. We know that they don't care about democracy. But government, they're not really against that.
Yeah. Would you be for just like a basic voter ID registration thing, just that you just have to have some level of identification, some government-issued identification? Because I get you on that, but I don't think you should just be able to walk in with nothing and just sign.
Well, if you've registered, your name is on a registry when you go in to vote.
Right, but shouldn't you have to prove that you are that person?
It shows up and votes in your place. You know, the fact is, you're going to say that this is a right unless you get a photo ID, and many of these photo IDs you have to pay fees to get. So in reality, that's a poll tax. And so, you know, a lot of folks say that gutting the Voting Rights Act in 2013, which was done, by the way, the same week they greenlit Sharknado 2. Like, that was just the end of our country, in my opinion.
Total coincidence.
But, you know, it doesn't just keep African Americans from voting. It was designed to keep seniors, low-income people of all races, and college kids from voting. There's districts in this country where you can vote with an NRA ID, but not a university ID. And the right-wing response to that is, well, yeah, but foreigners can get college IDs. Well, yes, Skeeter, but foreigners can't register to vote. So that's not a problem. More people are killed by televisions every year than vote illegally. The New York Times did an extensive study and found that out of over 1 billion votes cast, far less than 1% were fraudulently cast. There's voter registration fraud. There's not voter fraud. It's designed deliberately to make people vote less.
Right. I would say there's got to be some way that it can be subsidized to just give everyone some card that proves who they are, even if the numbers are incredibly low, and then you register, and then you have some card that has your picture on it, and the government paid for it, and that's it.
You get a voter registration card every year to your home address. But, you know, for me, it's like this whole thing with the voter ID laws is just more proof of how undemocratic the entire process is. And I really think that what we should be talking about is how to make it easier to vote, not harder. Mm-hmm. Why do we only vote the first Tuesday in November? Well, it's because we're still living by 18th century standards. In an agrarian economy, we were mostly farmers, and you were planting your crops up until, you know, you were harvesting up until the end of October. And then the presumption was the first Sunday in November, you'd go to church, and then Monday, it would take you one full day traveling by horse or mule to get to the nearest polling station, and then you could vote on Tuesday. So we're being controlled by the living habits of people who've been dead for over 100 years. Instead of having it be like motor voter, where you get your registration as soon as you get your license, why can't we have a holiday to vote?
That to me is the number one. Take the day off.
Yeah, or be able to vote online. I mean, we should make it a lot easier. We should be trying everything we can do to drive up voter enrollment, to drive up voter participation, have people manage their own democracy. But since the beginning of this country, when the founding fathers thought only land-owning white men should be allowed to vote, we've always talked the talk, we haven't walked the walk. And so I'm a big fan of democracy.
Yeah, democracy is good. I will agree with you on that one. All right, so let's talk about the Democrats a little bit. I suspect, but I can't totally confirm, you're a Bernie guy, right?
I mean, I'm a Bernie guy, yeah, just if you go by policies alone. But, I mean, no candidate's ever going to, you know, we have these purity tests for our politicians, and no politician, no lover, no relative, no artist is ever going to match your entire checklist. I mean, every rock star you've ever admired has released a bad album or done something embarrassing. You know, every great filmmaker has a flop. No politician is going to match your purity test at all. And I see the Democratic Party, which I'm not a member of, I'm independent, I always have been, I'm not a Democrat. Republicans generally force me to vote that way. But I see this civil war where it's like, mom's friends fighting with grandpa's friends, and it's so ugly. I don't want to watch Margaret Thatcher beat up Five-ish Finkel in a cage match. This civil war of the left is the most depressing thing about a generally depressing election year. And, I have a lot of issues with Hillary Clinton, but I don't really think that I'm ready to hand the nuclear launch codes over to Donald Trump just yet.
Right. So let's unpack that a little bit, because I'm fully on board that one of my problems with the left right now is they have gone out of their way to demonize Hillary to a point that they're making it sound like she is a neocon, that she wants to build nations and fight all these extra wars. Now, I get it. She did vote for Iraq. She did vote for the Iraq War. She was Secretary of State when Benghazi happened, but Barack Obama was president. Barack Obama's president right now. We have some troops now in Syria. We have Afghanistan. Sorry?
Benghazi is the most disgusting thing they've got. I mean, exploiting the murder of these 4 people. I'm pretty sure that it was terrorists who did it. But we've seen this whole process of how can we take these corpses and use them against politicians we don't like. First it was Susan Rice, then it was Barack Obama, now it's all Hillary Clinton's fault. These folks have never blamed the terrorists. They've never held the CIA or Petraeus responsible for what happened there. And we're never going to know, because most likely, Petraeus's mistress said in a speech that there was a black site prison in the basement of that consulate. So we're never going to know the whole story. For me, I find half my day is spent defending Hillary Clinton against unfair attacks. I think blaming a woman for her husband's infidelity, good luck getting female voters with that. I hear people bringing up Bill Clinton raped Juanita Broaddrick again. Well, this has nothing to do with policy, and Bill Clinton's not running. But Donald Trump has been accused of rape. Ronald Reagan was accused of rape. Bill Clinton was accused of rape. What are we going to do?
So this goes to that purity thing that you mentioned, because it seems to me that the far left has taken Bernie and they've basically said, Bernie is our Jesus. We love all of these ideas. And at the same time, we love them so much that we have to destroy Hillary. And what I see the problem there is that ultimately you could end up ushering in President Trump.
Absolutely.
Because the left they've demonized her to the point that all these young people are just not going to vote, right?
Yeah, I'm voting for Nuance, I think. I don't blame Ralph Nader for George Bush becoming president. I thought it was great that Nader ran, and I think he had a right to run, and I think that he had the best policy position of any candidate that year. I do blame 90,000 idiots in Florida who knew they were in a battleground state and voted for Nader anyway. See, I'm voting for Nuance. Mm-hmm. I like Bernie a lot on paper, but the magic number of this campaign, Dave, is 147. That's Ruth Bader Ginsburg's age. So this year, you're voting for the Supreme Court, possibly voting for 3 judges on the Supreme Court. Would you rather have Hillary Clinton appoint someone who respects women's reproductive freedoms, or would you rather have Donald Trump put Omarosa or Gary Busey on the court?
Right.
This is what we're looking at right here. And so I think that what's probably going to wind up happening is Hillary Clinton will get a lot of people's votes. She won't get their enthusiasm.
Well, that seems pretty obvious. Even the way you're describing, not that you're saying you're supporting her, but even the way you're talking about her is sort of just like, it's like a tepid defense, right?
Yeah, and I keep saying on all my shows, tepid is the new black. Again, it's like I think that there's a lot of folks who don't like Hillary personally or don't like her policies, and I get all of that. I will say that if she means half of what she said on this election trail, the 2016 Hillary is a much better candidate than the 2008 Hillary. I've been very, very impressed with the positions, and I give Bernie Sanders a ton of credit for forcing her to take these moral positions that would actually help the middle class and help our economy. I think Elizabeth Warren gets a lot of credit, too. It's clear Secretary Clinton has read Senator Warren's book. But I have a lot of issues with Hillary. And let me tell you, I posted a couple of jokes defending her against these sexist attacks against her because of her husband's infidelity, which I think is one of the tackiest things you can do. And the amount of progressives who came after me over it is dispiriting because, I don't consider Monica Lewinsky to be a victim. I think what Bill Clinton did was wrong and unprofessional, and I think he's paid a deep price for it. But I don't consider Monica Lewinsky to be a victim. And by having that point of view, because it was a consensual relationship between 2 adults, by her own testimony, she pursued it. And I happen to think that none of that is our business anyway. But when you start trying to use a woman's husband's infidelities against her to say that she's unfit to serve because she kept her marriage together and didn't leave, I don't know what their marriage is. I don't know what their arrangement is. And I don't judge anybody in this life for what system of love works for them. If they both have their own people on the side and they're staying together, fine. It's so hard to make a relationship work in this world, so hard to make love work in this world. Hillary Clinton's been married, I believe, 1/3 the times Donald Trump has been married. And I don't get to judge someone's relationship or how they love, okay?
Right.
It's all a sham marriage, fine, it works for them, whatever. I'm going to vote based on the issues and not based on someone's personal life.
Man, Fugelsang, I got to tell you, it is so refreshing to talk to someone on the left with a little nuance, because this is what I've been talking about for months, that it seems to me the left has lost their mind. Every time that you disagree with sort of the mainstream progressives, you are a racist, or you are a bigot, or you are a homophobe, and they've made good, decent people that are basically liberal or basically centrist or even a little conservative. They've made them all look crazy, and that is fueling Trump. So this is the exact conversation I've wanted to have with someone that I consider simpatico on this stuff.
Sort of one of the reasons why I've never joined a political party, because people just lose their damn minds over this. And I look at Facebook, which has just become like, it's become like electronic Bosnia. And everyone's at war with everyone. I kind of feel like y'all are going to have to get along and share this earth with each other after November of this year. And so I don't want to really be a part of the hate or the rancor. And by that same token, I'll defend Donald Trump, too. I mean, I find myself defending people I don't support who are unfairly attacked more than anything. And it's really depressing, but it kind of shows how we got where we are. By that same token, the very fact that Bernie Sanders can go this far in a campaign, I mean, he packed in 20,000 in a stadium in California, in Sacramento last night, with 10,000 outside. Of course, the media didn't cover this. But the very fact that a Jewish, self-described democratic socialist can do that well in this day and age shows the power of the internet and online social media, and it shows how far we come as a people. I mean, the strides LGBT people have made in my lifetime, from when I was a teenager moving to New York in the 80s and seeing the beginning of AIDS activism, to a sitting president endorsing marriage equality during a heated re-election battle. That's why I still believe in the American dream, because I've seen people, not politicians, but people make this kind of change happen.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny because right where you were, probably 10 feet from you were, when I had my show on Sirius XM, I think it was the first time we had met, or maybe we did stand up 1 or 2 times together, but you came on my show and we were talking about marriage equality, and you were laying out such a good case for it, but it was 4 years before it happened, and it seemed sort of edgy, where now it seems the norm, and that's what liberalism is supposed to be.
Sure. I mean, look, it was liberals in the Republican Party who ended slavery, right? I mean, it was, liberals of both parties who fought for civil rights. It was conservatives of both parties who fought against the civil rights movement. It's messy. And like I said at the beginning of this conversation, I think we're all progressive in some ways and conservative in other ways. That at least most sane people I know. I've seen a lot to be inspired by in my life. And I try to remind myself that I'm a recovering cynic. And I don't ever want to go back to being so dark again. And I'm catching a lot of heat for it because, in talking about Donald Trump, who is not a conservative Republican. He's just not. He's a horrible human being. But if you had ever told me, Dave Rubin, if you had ever told me that there'd be a guy on stage at a Republican presidential debate saying that Bush lied us into war, saying that Planned Parenthood does a lot of good things for women, saying that that hedge fund managers and billionaires like himself should be taxed more, I wouldn't have believed it. I mean, Grover Norquist is clutching his pearls. And a lot of this, but again, the Third Reich did the same thing. And I think anyone who compares people to Nazis is worse than Hitler. But I will say, the Third Reich rose to power by running against the Weimar Republic and promising so many conservatives and so many liberals whatever they wanted that people just kind of got caught up in the emotion of it and this feeling of national pride. That's not to compare the Obama administration to the Weimar Republic. They're much more confident. But the parallels are really, really similar because Donald Trump has promised as much good progressive stuff as he's promised conservative stuff.